Hello there and welcome to the Bristol Show 2025. I am Brad from Audio T, the show organisers, and today I am joined by James from Acoustic Energy.
Hi.
Hello, James.
Hi. Yes, I'm James Luce. I'm the creative director for Acoustic Energy, so I design the speakers.
Now, we were just talking about this before we started filming. So, you are the man that draws pictures,
Yep.
and then someone else goes and makes the product.
Yeah, that's it. So every image you see of our speakers, by and large, is something I've rendered. We don't tend to take much photography nowadays. I design all the visual design, and we have another guy who's our MD, who's our main audio designer. So we're always at odds with each other because I'll want something, he'll want something, and you have to make it all blend into some final product, which is...
Is it like The Simpsons when Homer designed his own car?
We had exactly that discussion the other day about something. I can't remember what it was, but one of the other guys wanted gold bolts, metallic blue, chrome ports, and it's
wow.
It's like
the Acoustic Energy Bling edition.
Yeah, we're like, ooh, no. Just let's just.
Are there sort of rules when it comes to these sort of things? Like, because obviously, ultimately, speaker design is a box.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, on the outside, it's a box. Do
yeah.
you sort of ever want to deviate from that?
There's always things you do. I've designed some products in the past which were less conventional shaped, and a lot of it comes down to market forces. You know, at the end of the day, you're a business. You need to sell product, and sometimes you can twist the rules a little bit and go a bit out there. But generally, you've got to have something which will be acceptable as a piece of furniture in your living room.
Yes.
That you're going to look at. So there's been great designs historically, quad ESLs, things like that, big flat panel speakers. That are fantastic products, but in the modern home, you've got to have a certain look. It's even the finish, everything. I tend to try and design things to be subtle so they don't jump out. But there are cases, our top model, our Corinium speaker.
The British Racing Green.
Oh. The same guy who wanted the chrome ports wanted the British Racing Green, and on that model...
He was right there.
On that model, absolutely.
You can have this one, mate.
Yeah, you can go, it's a flagship, we can show off a little bit.
And because obviously they were launched last year, weren't they, at the show?
Right.
So that was fantastic. And you've got something new this year.
Yes, so this year's our new mid-range product, our 300 series. So we've got a 100, a 300, 500, and then the Corinium sits on its own.
It's got its own website.
Yes, exactly, yeah. I mean, that was something
it's so special, it's got its own website.
We have to go to the Corinium Museum in Cirencester, which is what it's named after.
Yeah.
Corinium is Cirencester, where we were from. It's a Roman name, and so we went to the Corinium Museum for all the photography we did.
Yeah. Is that why there's the mosaics
Yes,
on it?
exactly.
It all makes sense now.
It makes a lot of sense when you look into it. But
yes.
if you just glance over it, it'll be very odd.
But we deviate. Let's come back to the main attraction.
So this is our new mid-range product. It had its own set of challenges, mainly because sitting in the middle, you've got to sort of keep a certain level of price point. And when we spoke to our dealers and distributors around the world about what they wanted from the product, one of the main things they wanted was to keep it at that sort of level of price that it was at. And of course, since we designed the predecessor in 2018, there's been a huge amount of inflation, and veneers and things like this have gone up.
Materials are just
40-50%.
Yeah.
And so you can't realistically do the same thing as you could.
Yeah.
And so I had to try and design the product visually in a way that we could keep the price at that level, but we don't want to sacrifice performance or anything else. And so one thing we do is develop these new, they're sort of, call it Silk Touch or something. We're trying to go with a cool techie name for it, but everything was already taken by someone. Soft tech and all this. But what it is basically the black and white versions have this matte sheen vinyl wrap, and it's very durable. Every product we're showing at the show this weekend is our pre-production sample of the product.
Right.
The real production isn't arrived for about 2 weeks, unfortunately. So we just missed the boat, kind of. So every show has been a bit beat up. It's been around the houses. It's been demoed to shops.
Yeah.
It's been pulled apart a dozen times for changing things. And so
they still look good.
And they still look pretty good. And we attacked some with scissors in the early days, just making sure it actually stands up better than the matte paint.
You've basically put them through their paces just to see if they are, I'm guessing, pet and child friendly.
Exactly. You want to be up, so you'll get finger marks like anything, but they'll wipe off. The walnut version is just more of a standard vinyl. It's got a bit of texture on it, so it feels a bit more like a real wood. But we had to basically find some way of replacing the old high gloss paint and wood veneer to keep the price down. And then the one thing it did allow us to do, because that was a big part of the cost, was really go a bit more upmarket on the acoustic side. So actually, the tweeter in this is a direct descendant of the Corinium tweeter. So it's Tetron silk, which is the same synthetic silk we use in that. It's very close. It's just it hasn't got the aluminium bafflets backed into and things like that. Even the bass drivers on this range, they were all our original Corinium development bass drivers. So we were going to have this it's a paper coconut husk combination. The coconut adds a bit of stiffness. We don't like drivers to be too soft, because especially as you turn up in volume, the character changes too much. So
you don't want them to flex when it pushes the air.
Exactly. So we want to keep them quite pistonic, and the coconut really allows a bit more of that. It doesn't seem like it'll do much, but it's like reinforcing concrete. The same principle. It has a stiffening layer.
And you're doing good for the environment by using a material that would otherwise go to landfill.
Exactly, absolutely that. And
so now whenever I see one of those bird feeders, a coconut in a tree, it's like, Acoustic Energy.
Exactly, so it works well. It gives a bit of visual interest as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think they look great. And I've been a fan of Acoustic Energy for a long time. I love the 100 series. For performance versus price, they outperform way beyond their price point. Really good. So anyone looking, who might be looking at the 100 series, what's the advantage for the 300? What would you say in performance terms?
It's like an incremental step up. So you get a bit more variant. Because it's similar materials, paper and soft dome, you get a similar character. One thing with the slightly stiffer driver, we can push it a little bit harder. We got a slightly softer suspension because it's a paper type material. We don't have to be too heavy handed on the crossover, so the crossover fairly simple. But due to the suspension we can put on this, because the driver retains its shape well, you get a more powerful bottom end, but it's not loose, it's not floppy, it's well controlled. But actually, even compared to the old 300 series, on paper they look quite similar dimensions, sensitivities, everything else. But you get a lot more bass warmth and power from these, purely because of the suspension design on that. And the tweeter, again, is a big step up from the 100 series tweeter. So where that's a conventional soft dome fabric tweeter, this Tetron silk, it's a really, really light material. It means you get a real open, airy, spaciousness, and cymbals that sound very natural. They have a nice delicacy to them, which the 100 series tweeter doesn't quite manage as well. And the same reason we used it in the Corinium, exactly
absolutely.
that. So even the carbon, it has a certain character in the 500 series. Very smooth, very pleasant to listen to. This just has a touch more of that open, airy character. And even the cabinets, compared to the 100 series, this is our constrained layer, which is, again, from the Corinium and the 500 series above. Because the cost went into the cabinet more than the visuals, it's got this sandwich of MDF and bitumen. It's made from, the whole cabinet is made from it. So it's very dead, very inert. So whilst the 100 series uses HDF, which is very solid, very hard, this is using MDF and bitumen to dampen the sound. So
there is a technical difference, quite a bit on paper, how many models are available in the 300 series?
So it's the 300, the 309, which is the two basic stereo models, the floor standard. There's then a larger floor standard, which is the 320. In the previous range, it was a similar form factor with an extra bass driver. This time it's larger bass drivers. It's actually based on the Corinium. So if you look at it with a Corinium head on, they're the same layout, the same size. But it's a much more affordable version of that, and it does have a lot of the sound characteristic of it. So it's a sort of it's not cheap, but it's a value high performance speaker. So it's again, visually it's a bit more intimidating, so you'd have to have a good sized room to accommodate it maybe. And then the other model in this range is the 307, which is the centre. But in this range, it's the first time we've completely changed our centre speakers to be LCRs. They can be mounted vertically or horizontally on wall, and we set a separate small little base if you want to use it as a desktop stand. And it uses, because it's wall mounted, we don't want to have any porting on it, so it's a passive radiator and a powered driver.
Okay, so you could go full surround sound with it.
Absolutely, and I was because the 320 and the 307 are a few more weeks behind the rest of the range. So they're going into production next week, I think. I've had the pre-production sounds of that running in the office, and as a stereo speaker, just running off a Blue Sound power node in the office, it's a really good stereo speaker. So I'm absolutely happy having that at home as a stereo pair of speakers, even as a centre, technically.
Well, it sounds like an achievement to be able to do a speaker that
it's just again trying to modernise things a bit. The old-fashioned centres that sit on a desktop.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays you want to be a bit more flexible than that, and we don't like making lots of models. We're a fairly small company. We don't want to have dozens of lines.
Yeah.
So if we can do one that does more things,
absolutely,
it ticks more boxes. Absolutely.
And you guys do a subwoofer as well, don't you?
Yeah. We just do what we've homologated all our subs into one AE sub, we call it, because so it doesn't tie to a range, and it's sort of between the old 100 series and 300 series sub. It's using old-fashioned Class AB amps, rock solid, that have been around for about 20 years, the amp in there.
Yeah.
So, and we've used it in other models, and it's always been the one that never gives us any problems.
So just stick with it.
So
if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Rock solid performance model, mid-price again, and we've heard some good feedback. Actually, we've only had it out a few months.
Yeah.
We've had some good feedback with it tested against the very specialist competitors that are out there, and actually, the feedback we had from a very big customer was that it actually outperforms that on movies. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
And they're going to stock.
So just go full whack, home cinema,
Yeah.
Acoustic Energy, bish bash
It will
bosh.
do it all. Honestly, you can actually have 5 of the LCR 307s as your 5.1, no problem at all. It's
Lovely
really
stuff.
nice system.
And when can we be expecting these models to hit Audio T shelves?
They'll be in Audio T. They arrive with us, I think it's 2 weeks' time. I'm sure it's 2 weeks' time. And then they'll be going straight out. We've already got orders from a lot of the stores, so they'll be going straight out to the shop. So by mid-March, they'll be available.
Lovely stuff. So there you have it. If you want to hear the 300 series, or any Acoustic Energy speakers for that matter, be sure to get in touch with your local Audio T. And thank you very much for joining me, James.
Thank
it's
you.
been a pleasure. And any plans for this evening?
No, going home.
Going home.
Walking the dog, having dinner.
I miss my dog.
This is it. So we leave the sales guys to do the schmoozing and the after parties and the meals.
I'm jealous. I might come and walk your dog as well. Anyway, guys, thanks very much. You take care. Have a good one.
Cheers.